I know that I'm a little bit late, but I've been thinking about the 8th generation of consoles for the past few months in an attempt to narrow down what the best games of the generation were. It was an incredible 7 years. Now, you could even call it an embarrassment of riches. From the start of the generation with games like Rise, Son of Rome, Sunset Overdrive, and Resogun, all the way up until the very end with the likes of Ghost of Tsushima, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and Spider-Man Miles Morales. The last generation has been one full of memories. But when it comes to naming the top 10 of the generation, some tough choices have to be made. Welcome everyone. Welcome back to LegalSpeak, a Cold North production. I'm the Law Morris, and this is the video essay series in which I get to talk about the games I've been playing and what I think of the medium as a whole. Like you might have guessed, today we'll be discussing my top 10 games of the last generation. So without further ado, let's get to it. In a generation full of excellent new IPs, it became increasingly difficult to stand out. But with an excellent premise and the promise of nearly constant giant robot dinosaur fighting, stand out is exactly what Horizon Zero Dawn did. With an intriguing story and compelling leading character, and Shadow of the Colossus-like combat, all occurring within one of the most beautiful game worlds I had ever played in, Horizon Zero Dawn proved that the PlayStation 4 had arrived. As a kid, I used to play a lot of video games with my sister, who is 2 years my senior. No matter how good I got, no matter how much I practiced, she would still beat me at Mario Kart 64 while playing with her feet. I never forgot that, and I've poured dozens and dozens of hours into nearly every subsequent Mario Kart release since, but none more than Mario Kart 8. Personally, I consider the Switch the follow-up to and continuation of Nintendo's handheld line, while the Wii U was the final installment of their home consoles. So that being the case, the Wii U is technically a part of the 8th generation of consoles, and therefore the original release of Mario Kart 8 qualifies for this list. The best of what the series has to offer in tracks, music, and creativity, combined with the return to more narrow courses amping up the signature chaos, and the introduction of the game-breakingly fast 200cc mode, Mario Kart 8 is the richest Mario Kart experience ever. And with the release of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch making it portable, it's not only the richest experience, but also the most complete package to date. It's rare that a developer makes a game so good that a significant portion of the audience empathizes with them for having to follow it up, but to whoever is out there that's making Mario Kart 9, Godspeed. It's not often that we get to see a franchise completely reinvent itself, and even less frequent is seeing a franchise do so multiple times. But with Breath of the Wild, Nintendo has completely reinvented Zelda for the second time, changing the game and at the same time raising the bar for what an open world can be, making every surface climbable. Nintendo poured an entirely new foundation for the series based off the original blueprint. For the first time since the original game, Nintendo let the player off the leash to run in whatever direction they wanted. While it may have come at the cost of a more cohesive and involved story, a series of fully realized combat, exploration, physics, and environmental systems made Breath of the Wild the best addition to the series in more than 10 years. Of the biggest properties in the world, Marvel is one of the biggest, and at their core is the most recognizable superhero in the world, Spider-Man. When given the opportunity to choose from Marvel's stable of characters to center their next video game on, Insomniac's Ted Price tells the story as though it wasn't a discussion of which character they would choose, but one of why they had already chosen Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man masters the locomotion of the web-slinger while placing him in what is the closest to a one-to-one recreation of New York City ever created in a video game, making the player really feel like Spider-Man. Intentionally separating their iteration of Spidey from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or really anything else that's come before, allowed Insomniac the freedom to make it their own in a way that was essential to making the game work. Excellent writing, combined with top-tier acting, and the best gameplay of any Spider-Man ever, had me more excited about Spider-Man than I had been since I was 13, seeing Spider-Man 2 in theaters. In space, no one can hear you scream. But in my small bedroom in my tiny apartment, my then girlfriend, now wife, heard me scream several times as the alien in Alien Isolation emerged from the vents at the most inopportune times. Since the inaugural outing, the Alien franchise hadn't returned to its horror thriller roots until the 2014 game that was the closest thing to a direct sequel to the original movie, both in spirit and story. Alien Isolation's utilization of a unique AI system for the alien that learns from the player's previous attempts circumvents the most common pitfalls of the survival horror genre by making the alien's behavior wholly unpredictable, with the exception of a handful of scripted sequences. Through intense tension building and sparing use of jump scares, Creative Assembly made Alien Isolation the Alien sequel I had been waiting for since I first saw Alien when I was 10. In the endless pursuit of player engagement, open-world adventures have become commonplace. And in the last generation, there were very few open worlds that measured up to Sucker Punch's feudal Japanese setting in Ghost of Tsushima. The fact that the story of Ghost of Tsushima is the weakest aspect of the game, and it still manages to pack an extremely emotional punch several times, speaks volumes to the quality of the game. Stellar combat, excellent map design, and graphics so good it would be more believable if I were told the game was being played on a PlayStation 5 than a PS4, all combined to make for one of the best console exclusives, not only of the generation, but of all time. Virtual reality has been on the mind of gamers everywhere for literally decades. It wasn't until 2020, with the release of Half-Life Alyx, that the narrative surrounding VR finally getting its first killer app started to change. But VR already had its killer app that millions of players had made the mistake of playing on a TV. Resident Evil 7 was a thrilling survival horror game that was easily a contender for Game of the Year during a year in which it was forced to compete with Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn. By bringing Resident Evil back to its roots, Capcom was able to recapture the magic of the origins of the franchise and then strapped that experience to their audience's face. RE7 was the first game that proved that VR technology is finally ready for the big stage, while restoring faith in and reinvigorating a classic series. Leaks have become a given in the video game industry, and they're almost always better conceptually than the actual game ends up being. A game living up to the potential of the leaks is a rare occurrence, but a game exceeding that potential is almost unheard of. Rumors had been swirling of a God of War sequel taking place in a Norse mythological context for years, and the game finally released in 2018. Molding a known quantity into a more character-focused human story, God of War did an excellent job of growing with its audience and developing into more than the hack-and-slash action games it descended on. I love the X-Files. I love the Twilight Zone. I love vaguely connected universes. And I love Alan Wake. So, I really love Control. From the moment the game began, Control forced its audience to question what was actually going on around them and allowed them to unravel an impossibly large, yet well-contained mystery, requiring multiple playthroughs to really understand. Over the course of 2 Max Payne games, Alan Wake and Quantum Break, Remedy has evolved from a good studio making unique games to a sleeping giant just waiting to be scooped up by Microsoft or Sony. Control's action, environmental storytelling, and story draw from the best of Uncharted, Infamous, and BioShock to make a game that rightfully places Remedy amongst the industry's giants like Naughty Dog, Insomniac, and Rockstar. Control is equal parts enthralling, terrifying, and fun, and it would have been my best game of the generation if it weren't for those pesky outlaws. Now, before we get to the best game of the generation, I want to call out some honorable mentions. While they might not have made the final top 10 list, Smash 4 and Ultimate, Ori 1 and 2, Rocket League, Overwatch, Doom, Doom Eternal, Hitman, Prey, Titanfall 2, Apex Legends, Resident Evil 2, Link's Awakening, and Spider-Man Miles Morales are all games that absolutely branded my brain with their memories and are deserving of nearly the highest praise I can give. If you haven't played these games, do yourself a favor, go snatch them up right now. You can thank me later.
Listen to me. When the time comes, you gotta run and don't look back. This is over.
On occasion, I will react so strongly to a piece of media that it will literally bring tears to my eyes. Return of the King, Miracle, Avengers Endgame, and The Last of Us all come to mind. But in my entire life, no piece of media has made me burst into tears the way Red Dead Redemption 2 did. I've heard and understand some of the criticisms regarding the game being more hand-holdy than previous Rockstar games. And I think that for many, that is a legitimate criticism. But to me, the caliber of the story that was being told earned quite a bit of forgiveness in that respect. While the gameplay was great, the overwhelming reasoning for Red Dead Redemption 2 earning the #1 spot on this list was its character-focused storytelling. Witnessing Dutch's descent into madness as he chases the bigger and bigger score, and seeing Arthur slowly come to the realization that he's lost Dutch, and he owes it to all of those around him to challenge Dutch's authority at an opportune time to get them out of a bad situation, was beautifully tragic. The cast of characters, the story told, and the setting in which it takes place all add up, making Red Dead Redemption 2 the new gold standard in narrative storytelling in video games, making it an easy choice for my game of the generation. So there's my list. What games made your short list for game of the generation, and what made you enjoy them so much? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll be back next time talking about something else entirely, so until then, just go play some games.